Hi everyone, it's Nicole here for Spellbinders, and today I'm sharing this pop-up garden card featuring the Spellbinders Large Die of the Month for March 2019. I'm going to use the pop-up feature inside my card and then use the florals from the dies for the front of my card as well, and even implement some of the dies from the March 2019 card kit of the month. This pop-up garden can be customized in a couple of different ways. I'm going to start by showing you the components that build the pop-up. We're going to work from the inside out today. You're going to need 2 of these long panels to create the pop-up, and then you can die cut from the frame, and there's 2 different options from the die set to create a couple of different sentiments to decorate the front of your flower box. You could even die cut that kind of label shape from a contrasting color of cardstock for an additional layer back behind this if you wanted to. I die cut the flower box itself from Beach Breeze Fun Stamper's Journey cardstock, and I'm going to be folding this into shape. I have left this in real time to hopefully show the assembly of the flower box a little bit better. I'm using my bone folder, and I'm kind of creating that Z shape, folding in the sides. You don't want to fold on that first crease. That's going to stay flat. You want to fold the other score lines, however. Now I find it easiest to go ahead and decorate the front of the box before you assemble it. However, you could assemble it if you wanted to and then place these pieces on the front. I'm adding liquid adhesive on the back of this using something that has a little bit more of a fine tip applicator to trace over the majority of the areas. And then we want to simply center that and pop it in place. I'm taking my time so that I don't smear the glue everywhere. I even find it handy to put something heavy like an acrylic block on top while that glue dries. That's going to help keep this nice and flat. Let's go ahead and work on the other side of this flower box for our pop-up garden. Again, folding in the one side that has the short tab, and then we're going to do kind of the back and forth, the Z shape for the other side, and using the bone folder to make sure those creases are nice and crisp. We're going to kind of fold it flat again, take the other side of the die. I did create both sides because this is a pop-up and you will see the entire thing when you open the card. I find it easiest to go ahead, or maybe not easiest, but the best to decorate both sides so it's just as beautiful from the front as it is from the back, so it looks exactly the same. We're going to be doing double-sided flowers as well. We're going to glue this on the other side of the pop-up flower box. And this darker blue cardstock is the Fun Stamper's Journey Huckleberry Fusion. I absolutely love this color. Again, we're going to put our acrylic blocks on top to help hold this flat. When we're ready to assemble, I like to take some double-sided tape, something strong. I would recommend a strong adhesive. You could even use liquid adhesive if you want to. I tend to prefer not to, as far as not having to wait on dry time. And I'm just going to kind of look at this first and make sure I have it right. And then I'm going to place my double-sided adhesive on the tab here to the right. And I'm going to put a couple of lines of it because it's a little bit wider tab. And I want plenty of adhesive so this stays together. To assemble, we're going to peel off our backing paper. And then we're going to simply lay one side on the other. So the short side is going to fit to the longer side, the Z-shaped, folded and scored, or scored and folded. and you can see that it bends in, and that's going to create that pop-up shape. As far as a pop-up inside a card goes, I found this extremely forgiving. Sometimes you have to have them in just the most specific spot for them to pop up correctly, and I found this one worked really easily. Now, once I have it assembled, I like to kind of squeeze it shut a little bit, and you can see it creates this great little box shape. So here is the base of our flower box. The other thing I like to do before I adhere this to the inside of my card is to go ahead and assemble my flowers in the flower box. There is the leaves or the stem and leaves die that you see there. I've die cut it a couple times so that I have enough flowers for the front of my flower box. I'm going to be doing 5 of these flowers on the inside in the flower box and 5 on the front of the card as well. They're going to be the exact same flowers, and you will notice that I am doing these in mostly rainbow color, with the exception of the blue is actually the flower box, and the green is the stems and leaves. So we're going to have pink, red, orange, yellow, and purple flowers in our flower box, so all the colors of the rainbow are represented in this card. On the stems, I am doubling up, meaning I'm adhering the flowers back to back so that the back looks as pretty as the front. You could also glue stems back to back if you wanted those to be a little bit more sturdy. I don't think you have to do that, but I do think that if I would make this again, I would probably glue stems back to back just for that sturdiness factor. And while my liquid glue is drying, I will put acrylic blocks on top to help hold those down. All of the flowers for the inside of my card are created with dies from the large die of the month. You get so many dies in this collection. It is absolutely phenomenal and a fantastic value. You don't even have to use the pop-up shapes if you don't want to, and instead could create labels for the front of your card, shakers for the front of your card. There are lots and lots of options for this. And of course, the beautiful flowers are always a hit. We're finishing up our final flower. And we've got all 5. I did go ahead and die cut the centers of the pink and purple flowers out of some yellow Fun Stampers Journey cardstock. A moment ago, I did share all the colors I was using so that if you ever want to know, you can find that information there. I do want to mention that I made a little bit of a critical error when assembling my flowers in the flower box here. And that is, you need to place them pretty far down in the flower box if you don't want them to stick out the end of your card. They are fairly tall. My other big tip today is this design, this pop-up, will not fit in a card base smaller than A2 sized. A2 sized cards are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches, and if you try to put it in something smaller, you're not going to have success because the flower box is fairly large. So glue those flower stems a little bit further down. I would say about you could glue them all the way down to the bottom edge if you wanted to and have them stick up, or they're about 1/4 inch from the bottom of the back of that flower box. I am putting my double-sided adhesive on the front of the tabs for the part that actually is going to be adhered to the card base. So I have die cut 2 of this kind of half moon shape that has all these great little cutouts in it, these little florals and butterflies and flowers and things. I have die cut 2 of these from the Beach Breeze cardstock. We're going to place adhesive on the front portion of each of the tabs, and we're going to place one of these on the front and one of these on the back. You could use liquid adhesive for this step as well, but I find the double stick tape works great and it's less mess. Then you want to start, I find it easiest to start with the center tab and line it up with that little center piece that pops down, and then simply place the two outer pieces, and there you've got one side of the pop-up. So it's going to stand up at this point. You could even use this maybe as like a little place card setting or something like that if you simply want to just set this up on a table. So I'm placing my double stick-sided tape on the other side, and we're going to place this on the other side of the flower box. Now, because this is completely full of little cutout pieces and areas, you're going to want to use a liquid adhesive for this next step and placing this in the center of your card. I try to line up the crease in the flower box with the crease of the card, but it doesn't have to be exactly perfect, just close. And then I'm going to put liquid adhesive all over just these two little half moon cutout shapes. We're going to take our card base, which I've already scored and folded in half, and we're going to center this as close as possible, and then we want to glue down the two sides and press that down in place. And I accidentally bumped it and it moved, so I'm going to work a little bit more on this. I apologize that my head is in the way, but I want to work on this a little bit and get this centered as close to possible again, since I bumped it and moved it. And luckily I was still able to go ahead and adhere this exactly where I want it to go. And then when you shut that, it folds beautifully. Now I'm going to go ahead and fix the fact that my flowers are sticking up too high. And I did have to pull those out because you can see them sticking out the top of the card, and I don't want that to happen to you guys. On a scrap piece of Fun Stampers Journey Beach Breeze cardstock, I am going to stamp a sentiment from the Fun Stampers Journey Must Have Sentiments that reads, "So proud of you." And then I'm going to stamp another sentiment from the Text Happy stamp set that reads, "It always seems impossible until it's done." Both of these are going to be stamped with clear embossing ink, and I stamped both sentiments first, and then I will come back and add my white embossing powder and heat set this and trim it into a thin strip. This little strip is going to become a flower box on the front of my card. When I first was designing this, I didn't necessarily plan for that. I knew it was going to be a little bit wider sentiment strip. I knew I wanted to buddy up these two sentiments together. I like the combination of script and then a little bit more classic text. But as I started working with this design, because I also originally only planned to create the 5 flowers that I used for the inside on the front of the card as well and tuck them back behind this strip. But as I was working on this and I looked up and I saw that I still had the dies out for the card kit of the month, I thought we could implement some of those, and it's also a great way to show you how you can mix and match the different club kit dies to create truly one-of-a-kind designs. So now that I have my strip all stamped and embossed, I can go ahead and trim that down just a little bit. And I just tried to trim it evenly on each side. I eyeballed it. I did not measure that. And then we can start assembling the rest of the card. You can see I've already got several of the flowers over here on my work surface. And another little tip and something else that I would want to do for the inside of my card, the little part down that is attached directly to the card base is beautiful. It looks great without anything inside of it. You see the white card base behind it. If you used a different color card base, that's what color you would see back behind this. But because I was really going for a bright, kind of rainbow type feel to my card, something I really personally love, I thought it would be fun to take that same die and die cut it from multiple colors of cardstock and inlay those pieces. So any of the leaves we're going to inlay with green. The flowers we can inlay with reds and pinks and purples. And then our butterflies will be some of those same colors, even some yellow. So same colors of cardstock that I used for the flowers and the leaves and the stems, but we're inlaying those. Now I'm not going to inlay any of the little dots that die cut. I think that would just be crazy, and that would be a little too extra. So I'm going to leave those white, and I do like seeing the white through that, but I really like the addition of the little inlay pieces, and we're going to do that on both sides. Again, you're opening this up, you're going to see both sides of this, so it needs to be as pretty on the front as it is on the back. We've got just a couple more little inlay pieces, and then it's time to start finishing the front of the card. You could even save any of these extra pieces to use on other projects or to create additional pop-up flower gardens. A crystal katana or a jewel picker of some sort is fantastic for being able to pick up any of these little pieces and pop them right in place and keep your fingers out of it. Look how pretty that looks. I'm so happy with how that turned out. Now on the front of our card, we want to take our sentiment strip, and I'm going to place it kind of down near the bottom, and we're going to start with our 5 flowers that are like the inside pop-up garden. I found it easiest to take some adhesive and place it on the back of my sentiment strip, and we're going to lay the stems into that and then adhere that directly to our card base and build from there. So I'll show you what I mean. I've put adhesive on the back, and starting in the center, I'm going to evenly space my 5 stems. And they go almost to the bottom of this strip. I thought spacing wise that would fill the front area of our card nicely and still leave some nice white space around the edges. We'll put a little more adhesive over this to hold those down in place. You could even put liquid adhesive on the back of the stems. I didn't. The flowers are going to be glued down in place, and that should hold everything down. I centered that, and then I simply started building the flowers just like I did for the inside of the card, but I'm going to do that for the front. So the orange flower will be in the center. The pink, it'll go pink, red, orange, yellow, purple. Because we have our blue flower box and then our green, it'll be greenery and our green stems. So all the colors are represented here again. I think this would be pretty left just as is, but I really wanted my flower box to be super full. Now remember, if you wanted to, you could take any of these additional die cut pieces that I'm going to be showing here in a second and fill those in on the inside flower box as well. So if you want your flower box inside the card to have even more, consider mixing and matching some of these other dies into that part of the design as well. I did lay out everything that I die cut first, and that was just to simply make sure that I was going to have enough to fill it in. The only additional cardstock color I pulled in for the inside of my flower box was Fun Stamper's Journey Limeade Splash, and I used that for any of the greenery from the Card Kit of the Month die set. If you have seen the Card Kit of the Month for March, that includes some cacti, a great little flower pot, and lots of florals. And we're using florals here and then some of the greenery, the leaves and the other little greenery pieces. And I found it easiest to work I worked on one side, the left side first. I'm going to work on the right side second. And I only moved out the pieces that I actually was going to glue back down in place. And then I moved to the center of the design. And it's filling up our flower box beautifully. I really am happy with how this looks. 2 colors of green cardstock. Kind of helps differentiate the tall stems from the rest of the greenery. And we are going to finish our card with some butterflies, die cut from the Huckleberry Fusion cardstock. This butterfly is also from the Card Kit of the Month dies. And it works with lots of things. I'm going to die cut 3 of these so that there's the visual triangle on our card. And finally, I'm going to finish the center of the flowers with white, gloss white Nouveau crystal drops, just little drops here and there. You could add these to the inside of your card if you want to as well. I did not, simply for the sake of I wanted to get this photographed and get the video done, and I didn't want to wait for dry time. But on the 2 flowers, the pink and the purple flowers, I probably will go ahead and add those Nouveau crystal drops to that part. So there's what the card looks like when you have it, when the recipient opens it, and then when they open it up, it reveals this beautiful pop-up design. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this die cut card featuring the Spellbinders Large Die of the Month Club Kit dies. The supplies I used to create this card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Spellbinders Club Kits that you might be interested in. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll catch you next time.